to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I am going to talk about a quote that came out of the mouth of supposed draft expert Todd Mcshay, talking about the New York Giants' biggest need if they have a top 5 pick in this year's upcoming draft. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with that man right there, the quarterback position. Now, well, I think this is a completely absurd statement. I try to be as fair as possible. I'm not one of these guys that comes on YouTube and tells you that Daniel Jones is the second coming of Joe Montana, but I think he's displayed enough where we have to see what we got going forward and could certainly be a good quarterback in this league. But I wasn't going to make this video. I don't like to give ESPN people attention that don't deserve it, and Todd Mcshay, with a take like this, in my opinion, certainly does not deserve it. It's an absurd take. The reason I made this video was because a subscriber of mine, Bavith, brought up a very valid point. Obviously, I just came out with the video about Dave Gettleman and Pat Shurmur both potentially being released. Well, he said if you release Gettleman, who's to say that the new GM that you bring in, whoever it is, Louis Riddick, whoever it is, thinks that Daniel Jones is their guy. And if you want to get the top-tier GM, you're going to have to give them that freedom. And most GMs in this league are going to want full credit when the team is successful. They would like to say, I brought on my quarterback, my guy. And who's to say the GM they bring in thinks that Daniel Jones is their guy? Now, you know, and this happened last year with the Arizona Cardinals, but to be fair, it's a completely different situation. Josh Rosen came in and he stunk up the joint. He was awful. Daniel Jones, while he has had some lumps, has certainly had a lot of success as well. He's displayed the tools necessary. I mean, the guy's had 2 4-touchdown games. He's shown the legs. He's shown some accuracy. Yeah, he needs to work on reading coverages. Yeah, he needs to work on his pocket presence. But, you know, he certainly displayed a lot more tools and a lot more potential than Josh Rosen did in his rookie year. So I'm not too worried about this happening, but it's an interesting thing to think about. But the quote itself by Todd Mcshay, well, let's take a look at it, is just absolutely asinine. And here is the quote. The question, the Giants are projected to have a top 5 pick. What's their biggest need? Ready for a bit of a surprise, Mcshay answered? I would take a quarterback. I wasn't a believer in Daniel Jones when he was the number 6 pick last April, and he hasn't done enough, in my opinion, to prove he's the long-term answer in New York. In 10 starts, Jones has 11 interceptions and 15 fumbles, 10 lost this season. And his only really good games have come against bad teams, the Bucs, Lions, and Jets. However, New York needs a lot of pieces, including help just about everywhere on their defense. So while I like the idea of taking an elite franchise quarterback, I'd expect the Giants to focus on the other side of the ball. They are in the early stages of a rebuild and have nowhere to go but up. And this draft will be a crucial part in that process. So that's what Mcshay had to say. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a guy who's head over heels in love with Daniel Jones. I think he could be a good quarterback in the NFL, and I think with the right pieces could certainly lead us to some success and hopefully making the playoffs, and maybe could duplicate what Eli did in his career. We can only hope he brings us 2 Super Bowl rings. But to give up on a guy who's shown flashes of brilliance, I mean, if you go by what Mcshay said, you should give up on most rookie quarterbacks. I mean, Dwayne Haskins has 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Jared Goff, and Jared Goff, to be fair, isn't doing much this year. But Jared Goff in his rookie year was abysmal. Now he got a second contract where he's making $34 million a year, whatever it is, where the Rams think he's the long-term answer. So, I mean, first off, Eli Manning. Eli Manning threw, I think, 1 touchdown his whole rookie season. I think he won 1 game. He was horrible. So, to say that, you could make a full evaluation on a quarterback who has shown some glimpses of being very good through 10 games is ridiculous on Todd Mcshay's part. When you draft a quarterback 6th overall, you made an investment. Now, like I said, though, the only thing I would worry about is bringing in a head coach or a GM that feels Daniel Jones is not the answer, and if Mara would give him the freedom, because the only way you're going to get a good GM in here, and, you could argue whether or not Gettleman is one, but if they were to replace Gettleman, the only way you're getting a good GM in here is if you give him full freedom. If you say you have to keep this guy, he's not taking the job. And the most popular name you hear out there, and a guy that I like, Louis Riddick. Last I checked, he was a big fan of Dwayne Haskins. I never really heard him say Daniel Jones coming out of his mouth. And if the Giants have the number 2 overall pick and have the ability to potentially draft a Burrow, maybe he does jump at the opportunity. Who knows? You never know in the NFL. If the Browns didn't prove that 2 years ago, taking Baker Mayfield, if the Arizona Cardinals didn't prove it last year, taking Kyler Murray, you never know what the Giants may do with a new regime. Obviously, if Dave Gettleman stays on, you got nothing to worry about. He drafted Daniel Jones, and if he ever drafted a quarterback and remained on as the GM, he might as well quit. He put his job on the line when he took Daniel Jones. When you draft a quarterback, that's your guy, sink or swim. So we'll have to see how it plays out. We'll have to see if Gettleman stays on and if this is even something that we even have to worry about a little bit. I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, I think Daniel Jones has displayed that he has the ability, if given the proper foundation, to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. And hopefully he attracts some head coaches and general managers that think that they could work with this kid. But as always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.